Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features X-Calibre number 4, cover dated June 1995. The cover is by Ken Lashley, inked by Tom Wegrzyn, if that's how his surname is pronounced. And this is a wild cover, this is fairly freaky. And we can obviously make out Nightcrawler there, but what is this combined creature on the front? We've got Mystique's face and it looks like Sabretooth. So what on earth is going on here? Well, we have to go into the issue itself to find out what's been happening, and every single one of Warren Ellis's issues of X-Calibre opens with a text page with the declaration America's dead. Then we get a little bit of background about Apocalypse and all of that, and a catch up on what's happened in the previous issues. Title of this story is On Fire. That hand there will turn out to be Dead Man Wade's hand. Dead Man Wade is the Age of Apocalypse version of Deadpool. And the creative team is Warren Ellis writer, Ken Lashley pencils, Tom Wegrzyn with Philip Moy inks, Joe Rosas colors with Digital Chameleon on digital color separations, Richard Starkings and Comic Craft on the lettering. So let's get to the story proper. It picks up immediately from the end of the previous issue, where Kurt teleported away with Dead Man Wade's head and hid it in a crater. But there is this first-person narration here, this mysterious first-person narration. Who is speaking? Who is narrating? Dead Man Wade lived up to his name a little under 10 seconds ago. That's just going over the story from the previous issue. And then the person asks, "Can you see me?" And then talks about the basic details regarding the individual players here, including Damask, the Pale Rider, corrupted by sunshine. She had a moral epiphany at the end of the previous issue. Mystique, and then Switchback. Switchback, a street mutant from Detroit by all accounts. So Switchback is a new character, and we get her using her ability there, which takes Mystique by surprise, and she explains it. She says, "Sorry, it's my ability. I can shunt back down my own timeline to a max of 10 seconds ago." And that's exactly when Nightcrawler teleported away with Dead Man Wade's head. And Switchback continues, "I was getting a funny headache. Why might that be?" The reader would ask themselves. "So I drove me and my body chemistry back 10 seconds. Seems to have done the trick. But Mystique isn't at all happy. Do that again without warning me and I'll cure your headache." Meanwhile, Nightcrawler's asking Damask, the leader of the Pale Riders, a very pertinent question. "So exactly what did Apocalypse send in as a follow-up to you?" So all of this is going to combine the first-person narration and Apocalypse's follow-up shortly. But first of all, we have a little moment between Damask and Nightcrawler where she basically kisses him and says here, "Just as I thought, like velvet. Come on." So she's taking a shine to Nightcrawler, and he's not objecting or anything either. But who is this saying, "Can you see me yet?" Who is that speaking? And then we go back to Avalon, the village. It's in flames from the attack of the Pale Riders, specifically Dead Man Wade. This is Douglas Ramsey here, who's the adopted son of Destiny. And Mystique is a little jealous of Destiny's care for Douglas. So she's a little bit rough with him as he's tending to this mutant who's lost his legs. She tells him coldly, she tells Douglas to tell the mutant, just tell him he's got no feet and have it done with. And Douglas responds, "It's hard to believe that someone like you could ever be a friend to my mother." Mystique is going to attack him, verbally at least, but he says, "Point one, lady, I'm not human, I'm a mutant. Haven't you wondered how all these people from different countries can talk to each other? That's me. My ability lies in language. I'm good. A translation field spreads from me to cover Avalon." And that's very interesting from Warren Ellis, working out a new way to for Douglas to express his mutant power, something much more powerful than the Douglas Ramsey from the regular universe ever did. And so it's interesting in the Age of Apocalypse seeing mutants using their powers in new and interesting ways. And as I said there, Warren Ellis figuring out a useful, like a very useful way for Douglas to use his language ability in Avalon. So here we have Mystique toting her big gun, Switchback going after Douglas, saying America's ruled by some primal force for Darwinism. There's a bar in Manhattan run by a guy with wings. In the middle of Antarctica, there's a warm paradise where mutants and humans coexist in peace. And Magneto's got a guy who might come from a different reality where Apocalypse never caught hold of things. You tell me which one sounds like a crazy story, Doug. All that we in Excalibur are saying, young Douglas, is give us a chance to confirm said story, because that's what Nightcrawler's gone to Antarctica on the orders of Magneto to do. He's gone there to find Destiny and bring her back to North America and to check the veracity of Bishop's claims about the alternative universe in which Apocalypse never rose, never ascended as High Lord. So let's continue with the story here. Back in Avalon, there is an attack as this particular mutant here, Wendy, she's a bolt thrower, electrical mutant. She's obviously being taken over by some kind of power. And who or what is doing this? Well, we've got to turn the page sideways here. Just give you a full look at the double page spread. So some pretty decent work by Ken Lashley on this page. Excellent colors by Joe Rosas. And this mutant is fighting something that has taken possession of her. I want, I don't, I want, so who is it? And Douglas figures out, using his power, I'm picking up 2 sets of noise from Wendy's brain. So now we see this smile, this evil smile spread across her face. And she reveals, I'm your second wave, what Nightcrawler was asking about earlier. I came in with Dead Man Wade and jumped to Switchback when Wade lost his head. Switchback managed to lose me before I could get a grip. And, well, this is all by the by, isn't it? You can see me now. So this is our mysterious narrator. Pleased to meet you. I'm the Shadow King. So that's who that is. And we can see his eyes there, astral eyes in the background. So the Shadow King is the first major test now for this new team X-Calibre to deal with, and that's what the rest of the issue is going to be about, how to deal with this guy and you know, how he operates as well. Great anchor image there of Mystique blasting away at this mutant. It's the only way she thinks she can deal with the situation. But the problem is that the Shadow King, as Damask says, you know, Mystique has killed the host, but he'll be in someone else by now. She makes that point. Maybe in several people. He can cause more pain that way. That's all he lives for, you see. Causing pain, she says. So let's continue with the story. Another sideways double page spread. Make sure that you can see all of that there on camera. So this is pretty action-packed. I do think, you know, Ken Lashley, a young artist at this point, but he's having some fun here with the art and the story at the level of his ability at this time. So we get a little bit of information on maybe how the Shadow King operates. Damask says here, Apocalypse said that his mind traverses some kind of lower space and something, an adjacent dimension. So Nightcrawler figures it's teleportation, and he would know. So the Shadow King is boasting here about what he's going to do, make Avalon scream, getting into the heads of all of the mutant refugees there. Back to the story. Destiny arrives, and she's horrified at what she's witnessing there. The destruction of her dream of a refuge for mutants in Antarctica. And so the third person narration here says, in the eye of the storm, watching Raven's team try to contain it all, she is torn. That's Destiny. Shouldn't she too be fighting for her dream? Surely a dream is worth fighting for. Why then does she so desperately want to run? So this guy, the first guy possessed here, or no, this is a new guy possessed, says, I want you to hang around a while to Destiny. I want to have some wrong fun with you. So that sounds macabre. So Destiny cannot help but feel the blood on her hands, for in this world no promises of sanctuary can be kept. So the Shadow King totally possesses this guy here. We see his wicked eyes here in the background astrally. He says here, I know what you're thinking, Destiny. Marcus, you've been in Avalon for 3 years. Why use your mutant powers to hurt us? Well, I'm not Marcus. I'm named Amal Farouk, called the Shadow King, in the Court of Apocalypse. So of course Shadow King made his first appearance in Uncanny X-Men 118, but this is the Age of Apocalypse version of him, and he serves Apocalypse, the High Lord of North America. And he says here, and I'm here to tell you that your dream is worthless. So Destiny thinks, if that is true, Amal Farouk, creature of Apocalypse, then perhaps it is better I should die for this dream. So she's finally perhaps going to fight. But in the meantime, X-Calibre, this new team, attack together. Damask here using her powers. So she explains, I never liked being taught by you, she's saying to the Shadow King. In all those years of you leering at me, I had one dream, Shadow King, my favorite, using my power on you, psionic skinning. So that's what's coming out of her forehead there, these chains that she's using to catch the mutant. And then there's these blades appear around his head, and she's going to psionically skin him. So we get a little explanation here of what that amounts to in the narrative captions. The psionic skinning blades jab deep into the folds of the mutant's brain. Damask twists them selectively, paralyzing speech centers, movement functions, chemical producers, rendering this host impossible for the Shadow King to inhabit. He reclaims this portion of his consciousness, drawing it back. So we see that here in this particular panel. And Nightcrawler says, you actually caught his mind between those blades. And she replies, yeah, I guess. I got a little overzealous. Your mother's going to have my hide because this guy's dead. I don't think I like your mother, says Damask. I don't think you're supposed to, he says in reply. Come on. So again, a little bit of interesting kind of psychological characterization going on there. Damask taking a shine to Nightcrawler and not having a good kind of, what would I say, feeling for his mother, because of course Mystique has quite a strange, almost like distant yet coddling relationship with Nightcrawler. It's some weird stuff, weird family dynamics, and some of that is going to get even weirder now in a couple of pages time. So Douglas is not happy with how this particular mutant Marcus was treated, but Nightcrawler basically schools him here and says the inevitable just happened ahead of schedule, that's all. He says to Douglas, you ran away from real life, little boy. It was only a matter of time before real life ran after you. This dream of yours, this coexistence thing, did you ever stop to wonder what you all could have achieved with it if you hadn't hidden it in the sand along with your heads? Welcome to the real world. Start coping with it the way us poor slobs stuck in the real world have to. So then something happens to Mystique. She's attacked by the Shadow King. And then there's this transformation, and the Shadow King gets into her soul. He says it's quite, he says here, her memories spill out between my sharp fingers, each one imprinting on her clever flesh. It's quite an exhilarating form of torture. And there's one memory worse than all the rest, and that's Sabretooth. So Shadow King in possession of Mystique morphs her into Sabretooth. And Sabretooth here says, Kurt boy, what's the matter? Doesn't Whittle Kurt want to play? So the implication, what's the implication of this? Now, great anchor image by Ken Lashley. He's obviously putting a lot of work into that. Great way that he's done Sabretooth's spread hands and claws. Looks really, really good. That's not easy to do, so he's spending time over that. It's well done. But isn't the implication here, don't you think, and let me know your thoughts in the comments, that Warren Ellis is playing around with the idea, it's only recently been established in 1994, that Mystique is Nightcrawler's mother. But who's his father? That's the open question. And the implication is, perhaps here, that it was Sabretooth? That would be very interesting. So, bit of a weird statement here from Nightcrawler. He's in my mother. Remember what I was saying, there's this weird psychological family dynamics going on here, all very Freudian in some ways. When I teleport, I spend a fraction of a second in an adjacent dimension. By the way, the lettering here in these speech balloons looks like it's hand lettered, not digital lettered. So I wonder whether this is editorial, whether whatever Warren Ellis put in those dialogue balloons, those speech balloons, maybe editorial came in and said, That's a bit much. Got to re-letter that before it goes to the printing press. So Nightcrawler continues and says, I'm praying that he uses that same space to make his transitions between hosts. If I teleport all three of us and Switchback can extend our transition time, let's do it. So he's got a plan. So in goes Nightcrawler with Switchback and Damask into this interdimensional space that teleporters use. And there is, who is it? It turns out to be Amal Farouk, the Shadow King. So now he's attacked by Damask using her psionic skinning technique on his astral plane essence. And so she breaks him. Together they reduce the filthy intellect of the Shadow King to wet, hissing shreds. And Mystique is freed of his possession. But the Shadow King, some of his essence remains in Marcus. And so Marcus rises from the ground here. Bring down Avalon. That's what he said deep in my mind, bring down Avalon. So he launches an attack at Destiny from behind her, and Doug sacrifices himself to save her. So Douglas Ramsey, dead in the Prime reality, dead again heroically here in the Age of Apocalypse. It seems like he's fated always to die. Young Douglas Ramsey. But Mystique here, not Mystique rather, but Destiny learns, or rather it's in the narrative captions, it is Douglas who's learning here. Doug Ramsey moves on instinct. His head still full of Kurt Darkholm's words. He takes his head out of the sand. He faces the real world head on. And he sees what the dream can achieve. Life out of death. But he gives his own life. He sacrifices himself. And this is what convinces Destiny to accept Nightcrawler's invitation sent on behalf of Magneto to come to America. So she says here, perhaps, and maybes, games we play with ourselves. Perhaps Apocalypse can be prevented from burning more dreams. All right, Nightcrawler, I'm coming with you. Take me back to Magneto and the X-Men. And I swear by all I hold holy, we will bring down the High Lord Apocalypse. So, as I've said on previous videos concerning issues 4 of the Age of Apocalypse series, we have the threads moving towards a denouement, a climax in X-Men Omega in all the various series. So now the X-Calibre team with Destiny going to meet up with Magneto and the X-Men. Everything's coming together in order to take on Apocalypse, one final battle with him, and maybe to reset reality too. Well, I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on X-Calibre number 4. If you did, please like the video on YouTube, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.